small miracle, I cope. It never fails to amaze me. Never fails that I get anything done. That I'm not running down the street naked with my hair on fire. Just, I don't know how anybody does sometimes. I just think it's so crazy that we not only cope with all the organic crap, like the diseases and the potential for injuries and death and, predators out there and just natural disasters and the heat and the cold. Oh my God. I mean, thorns on roses, all these terrible things that if you didn't know better, you'd think it's just God. Well, God's an incompetent and, he's just kind of mean. He's kind of an a hole. I mean, why else would you put thorns on a rose? They don't keep any pests away. It's just to vex the soul of men. So evil got power when we fell, when we disobeyed God and we ate, our ancestors ate from this tree of knowledge of good and evil. That's what screwed up everything. And now the trick is to, work with God to regain control because that's what's coming. God's going to reclaim the earth. That's the prophecy. That's the whole return of Christ and the end of the age. Not the end of the world. Nowhere in Scripture does it talk about the end of the world. Nowhere that, I don't know where that came from. But that's not the case. It's just an end of an age and the beginning of a new age. But it talks about the harvest of the souls of men and the separation of the wicked from the righteous. As a parent, the best parent, would you eventually do that? When you see your kids, you had 8 billion kids on one planet and they couldn't get along with each other. You're going to distinguish, say, well, this is why you're not worthy anymore to live here on the surface. You haven't been living with the rule. And therefore you haven't honored me. You haven't put my will, my desire first. We don't have the same values. So you go here with the bullies, the money printers, the vast majority of the politicians that are in positions of power, and they're not using it for the good of man, but they're using it for the good of evil men. They're picking and choosing, and they're saying, well, I know which side my bread is buttered on. Use like this national debt. We're all in fear. We all don't already know that these politicians, none of them have. They're in. That's obvious. They're colluding. That's why I know they're going to bail themselves out because they know they can just give themselves a raise. They allow the currency to keep being debased through this national debt, keep putting that debt on the backs of the poor through this hidden, not even so much hidden anymore. It's starting to hopefully more and more obvious. It's a tax on the poor. Make sure they stay down. We got to keep them under their thumb. Okay? And there's a lot of middle class people now that not long ago they could easily be homeowners. Not anymore. Not anymore. See how this works? It's got to have fresh blood. It's got to keep devouring and reaching up the ladder to grab more people down and submerge them, make sure they stay down, and they got to pay that rent for the investors to keep the high housing costs up, the exorbitant rents and mortgages to make sure that, not everybody gets out from under the thumb of these people. And that's how they do it, through financial means. It's like you're trying to run out of a pit of sand. And I think I'm making a little progress. I know I can do this. If I run hard enough and fast enough and long enough, I can do this. And then all of a sudden, they just dump more sand on you. And you ain't getting out of that pit. That's the way it stands today. It's sick. It's sick what we've allowed to happen in this country. Ever since the assassination of JFK, who was in the process of getting rid of the Federal Reserve, was already issuing a new dollar. We didn't need Federal Reserve notes for nothing. Now we owe these people $32 trillion. And these politicians keep rubber stamping it. Obama was very instrumental in that very controversial bailout of '08 when the people of America were putting their foot down, Occupy Wall Street, the Tea Party. It was liberals and conservatives coming together, Democrats and Republicans coming together, socialists and capitalists coming together. And Obama said no. He was very instrumental in pushing that bailout through. And you need to know that. Everybody needs to know that. So you got to know who you're dealing with here. So you think these people are going to default on this debt? You think that would blow my mind. God knows I wish they would. Oh yeah, absolutely. But you better keep the food stamps coming. You better keep the Social Security checks coming, or that revolt, I mean, we're going to find you in your ivory tower and we're going to have a peaceful revolution here, but we're going to demand justice. We're going to hold your feet to the fire and make you talk to the press and explain what happened here and how we allowed this debt to get so high and why they keep allowing this currency debasement, calling it a good thing that your cost of living goes up when it's hurting the poor the most, and then you politicians give yourselves raises at will with no vote to the public. We need public regulation. That's what we need. We need a new agency set up strictly to support the public at large, Democrats and Republicans, socialists and capitalists, conservatives and liberals, all of them, all of them. See, if we don't leave anybody out of the loop of fairness, nobody can complain because, hey, it's political. Right now, the way it stands, it's like the only thing you can openly, overtly discriminate against if somebody is, oh, you're a Democrat? Oh, I can, I'm not renting to you. You're a Republican? No, I'm not renting to you. I'm not selling to you. Don't come into my store. They can do that legally. Can you imagine that? Overt discrimination based on political party. So, yeah, we need a new agency set up. The Agency of Public Regulation. That's it. That's it. And everybody's free to attend, go, hang out, man. We'll spend taxpayer money. You betch up the wazoo. Yeah, and there's jobs, plenty, good paying job, man. Yeah, living wage. Yes, you could be a homeowner working for this agency. It's going to get a good rep and it's going to spread. And people can say, well, I don't care about working for the housing authority anymore. I'll go get a job over here at the Public Accountability Regulations Committee. We'll fix our problem. We've got the wherewithal. That God gave us the brain, the ability to be noble of heart and mind and understand, grasp fairness, the importance of having it in order to please God. God is the grantor of happiness, so it's all makes perfect sense. It's all very simple. This is childlike stuff. I try to explain to people, help them understand how this thing works. But, just like a drug dealer might start watering down his drugs, right, to spread them further. Everybody could figure that out. I mean, if they could mix something with gold, they'd do that. But this is the way money, they just add it. They just say, hey, we're just going to go in debt. We'll never get this thing paid. It's perpetual interest. So we owe these people this private entity. People don't know about that. The Federal Reserve private entity. We'll just keep paying the interest and make the poor pay. I already explained how. Now it's the middle class. They need fresh blood. They got to keep reaching up the ladder to higher economic states, keep you down. Because we got it. That's how we get the exorbitant rents and mortgages. And we keep raising the cost of living, and it's good for Wall Street. What's good for Wall Street, we know it's bad for Main Street, but shut up. It's good for some, so shut up. Even if it's bad for you, we call it value, but I know it's burden on you. It's cost to you, but shut up. Just go along. Just conform, comply. Just shut up. That's what they would like. They'd like you to shut up. Of course they'd like me to shut up. They'd like anybody that's on the side of fairness to shut up. Well, they're not going to get their way. God's will is going to be done, my friends. Yeah, so you don't want the drug dealers' product anymore after a while. You say, well, this is dog crap. We do that with the dollar, but yet, nevertheless, we need it. It's like a drug addict. You need your drugs. They make us need it. If you don't pay the cost of living, which they didn't give us life, they don't have a right to charge for living, yet we all just say, well, of course, nothing's free, right? We're all trained to believe that, right? But did God say that? No, not at all. Not at all. Am I saying steal? No, not at all. Not at all. I just want you to understand, you were born filthy rich. You don't need money. Nobody does. We're all equal in the sight of God. Equally beloved, equally pathetic, equally great, etc., godlike children of God with virtually unlimited potential to imagine, and whatever we can imagine we can make manifest. Admit it. That's a fact. History bears that out. Overwhelming empirical evidence bears that out. Well, friends, I ran my tape out, running my mouth. And listen, best everybody. Have a great day. Have a great eternity. And practice being nicer. You know, it's the best advice I can give anyone. Humility is a beautiful characteristic, and we should all have heaps of it. So, live, learn, love,